Week 38 Day 1. Glib, smooth of speech. Since the charlatan was able to wheedle money out of the Navi audience with a glib talk on a medicine that would expunge pain. Since glib, adjective glibber, glib is speaking or spoken in a confident and persuasive way but without honesty or careful consideration. He's a glib, self-centered man. No one was convinced by his glib answers, explanations. Glibly, adverb. He spoke glibly about an economic recovery just around the corner. Glibness, noun. Homogeneous, same or uniform sense. While they started out as individuals, they became a homogeneous group, whom he could motivate, as he willed. Sense, homogeneous, adjective. Also homogeneous, consisting of parts or people, which are similar to each other or are of the same type. A homogeneous group. Society. The population of the village has remained remarkably homogeneous. Compare heterogeneous. Homogeneity, noun. Cultural, racial homogeneity. Malleable, capable of being shaped or formed. Since he ingratiated himself into their confidence, and the malleable crowd was shaped into a subjugated mass. Since malleable, adjective. One describes a substance that is easily changed into a new shape. Lead and tin are malleable metals. Too easily influenced, trained or controlled, he had an actor's typically malleable features. Europe saw its colonies as a source of raw material and a malleable workforce. Malleability, noun. Legerdemain, sleight of hand, adroitness. Since they were engrossed, as an ill man was cured before their eyes, some of the more urbane said it was legerdemain. Legerdemain, trend, general direction. Udge, trendy. Since they could not follow the trend of his ideas, but his verbal dexterity galvanized the gullible listeners. By hook or by crook, any way at all, at any cost. Since he had bought the white elephant without rhyme or reason, now he had to get rid of it by hook or by crook. The enigma of fashion. Of all the pressures young people face, the most pernicious is that of fashion. By this is meant the current vogue in dress. The teenagers, who are so glib when they speak of individuality, are turned into a homogeneous mass by the latest craze in fashion. How can youngsters who vehemently resist advice from the older generation become so malleable in the hands of those who make fashion? Perhaps the sudden shifts in fashion occur fortuitously. Or is there some group who, through legerdemain, switches styles and customs on us right before our eyes? Today's teenagers seem to be quite gullible when it comes to embracing the latest trend in fashions. But then, they have their elders as sage examples to follow. Week 38 Day 2. Stagnant, motionless, dull, inactive. Since the iconic last image broker has the propensity for reproaching those who feel complacent with leading a stagnant existence. Since stagnant, not flowing, adjective of water or air not flowing or moving, and smelling unpleasant, a stagnant pond. Since stagnant, not busy, adjective not growing or developing, a stagnant economy. Stagnate, verb I, to stay the same and not grow or develop. The electronics industry is showing signs of stagnating after 15 years of tremendous growth. Stagnation, noun. Fatal, deadly, disastrous. Since to the consternation of the distraught parents they learned their son was accused of using the lethal weapon on that fatal occasion. Fatal, adjective. One, a fatal illness or accident, etc. causes death. This illness is fatal in almost all cases. The fatal shooting of an unarmed 15-year-old too very serious and having an important bad effect in the future. He made the fatal error of believing what they told him. It just shows how you should never say how well things are going for you. It's fatal. It causes bad things to happen. Fatally, adverb. Several people were injured, too fatally they died as a result. Fatality, noun. See a death caused by an accident or by violence, or someone who has died in either of these ways. Britain has thousands of road fatalities, deaths on roads every year. The first fatalities of the war were civilians. Passé, outmoded, old-fashioned. Since we wish for halcyon clam days, when the warlike solutions will have become passé. Since pass, adjective, disapproving, no longer fashionable. Wines from that region were quite popular for a while, but now they're rather passe. Since procrastinate, delay, put off. Since we all tend to procrastinate when faced with an unsavory, immoral task. Since procrastinate, verb I, to keep delaying something that must be done, often because it is unpleasant or boring. I know I've got to deal with the problem at some point. I'm just procrastinating. Procrastination. Noun. You facet one side or view of person or situation. Sense. Edna recalled with nostalgia many facets of her school days. Facet. Noun. See one part of a subject, situation, etc. that has many parts. She has so many facets to her personality. 2. One of the small flat surfaces cut on a precious stone. Faceted suffix. Many-faceted, having many different parts, a multifaceted personality. To get up on the wrong side of the bed, to be in a bad mood. Sense. When his mother raised Cain about his slovenly room, he accused her of getting up on the wrong side of the bed. The economics of fashion in dress. The fashion appears to be set by a few foreign designers and a handful of affluent individuals who purchase these designs. The fashion industry is cognizant of the fact that fashions must change rapidly and often, or their economy would become stagnant. For this industry it would prove fatal if it were not vigilant and prepared well in advance for a new fashion trend. As the old fashion becomes past and a new fashion seems to be in the making, the garment manufacturers cannot afford to procrastinate. They rush large sums of money into production for a mass market. Having invested heavily, the manufacturers do everything possible to influence and motivate the purchasers. Through every facet of publicity and advertising, the industry exploits the natural desire for people to be current with the latest fashions. Null Week 38 Day 3. Foist shyly pass as genuine since they are dubious of such an artist, and accuse him of trying to foist as a work of art a rudimentary exercise. Foist sth on upon sb phrasal verb to force someone to have or experience something they do not want. I try not to foist my values on the children, but it's hard. Stigmatize to mark with a disgrace since it was an asinine thing to Dodo stigmatize his opponent as a bigot and thus exacerbate an already bitter campaign. Sense stigma feeling. Noun. See usually singular. You. When people disapprove of something, especially when this is unfair, there is no longer any stigma to being divorced. Being in a married mother no longer carries the social stigma that it used to. Stigmatize. UK usually stigmatize verb t often passive to treat someone or something unfairly by disapproving of them. People should not be stigmatized on the basis of race. Capitulate. Surrender. Make terms. Sense despite tenacious resistance, they were ousted from the strong point and had to capitulate to the enemy. Sense capitulate verb I1 to accept military defeat. Their forces capitulated 5 hours after the Allied bombardment of the city began. 2. To accept something or agree to do something unwillingly. The sports minister today capitulated to calls for his resignation. Capitulation. Noun. See or you. Audacity. Boldness, daring. Sense it is common to hear people disparage those who paint in the modern genre. They speak about the audacity of the artist who submits a high white canvas with a black border as a serious work. Sense audacious adjective showing a willingness to take risks or offend people. He described the plan as ambitious and audacious. An audacious remark. Suggestion. Audaciously. Adverb audaciousness. Noun. You. Audacity. Noun. You plus to infinitive. It took a lot of audacity, bravery, to stand up and criticize the chairman. Disapproving. He had the audacity, rudeness, to blame me for his mistake. Tantalize. Tease or torment by offering something good, but not deliver. Sense it is reprehensible to tantalize a young child with the promise of a reward for being good, when you have no intention of giving it. Sense tantalize. UK usually tantalize verb t to excite or attract someone by an offer or a suggestion of something which is, in fact, unlikely to happen. Tantalizing. UK usually tantalizing adjective describes something that causes desire and excitement in you, but which is unlikely to provide a way of satisfying that desire. I caught a tantalizing glimpse of the sparkling blue sea through the trees. Tantalizingly. UK usually tantalizingly. Adverb. Castles in the air. A dream about some wonderful future. Sense people on Skid Row often build castles in the air. What next? Once the fashion industry has been able to foist a new style on the teenager, the older generation tends to stigmatize it as some form of rebellion. What is often ignored is that the young consumers capitulate to what is originated by someone outside of their group. The feelings of individuality and audacity that the teenager gets from a new style of dress result from the propensity of their elders to disparage them. The actual situation is that the clothing fashions soon become accepted by all, There is nothing upsetting or revolutionary about them. While people are becoming complacent about the new, the clothing industry is busy planning how to tantalize the teenager with next year's fashion. This arbitrary decision is guaranteed to foment consternation among adults once again in the following year. Week 38 Day 4. Retort to answer, reply since he refused to retort to the rash question about his propensity for imbibing sense retort verb T, to answer someone quickly in an angry or funny way, plus speech that doesn't concern you. She retorted. Retort noun C. A quick answer that is angry or funny. I'm going to tell him, said Max. Just you try. Came the retort sense retort stand noun C. A metal structure for holding glass tubes and other equipment during scientific tests and experiment reticent silent or reserved sense. Most politicians are reticent when asked to divulge their ambition sense reticent adjective formal and willing to speak about your thoughts or feelings. He is very reticent about his past. Most of the students were reticent about answering questions. Reticently adverb formal reticence noun U formal. His reticence about his past made them very suspicious. Tacit understood, implied, not stated sense his egregious behavior brought a tacit reproach to his mother's eyes sense tacit adjective understood without being expressed directly, tacit agreement approval support tacitly adverb chicanery trickery, underhandedness sense the reporter divulged the blatant chicanery involved in the awarding of the contract. Null sense chicanery noun U formal clever, dishonest talk or behavior, which is used to deceive people. The investigation revealed political chicanery and corruption at the highest levels. Docile easy to manage sense even the most docile person may become fractious when he gets only a pittance for his hard labor sense docile adjective quiet and easy to influence, persuade or control. The once docile population has finally risen up against the ruthless regime. Docility noun U to maintain the status quo to keep things as they are sense you hit the nail on the head when you said we ought to maintain the status quo and not change horses in midstream. Something for everyone to the derogatory comments from the older generation. The teenagers might retort that new fashions and styles are adopted by the elders with alacrity. Though they complain, women emulate their daughters by shortening or lengthening their hems. They may appear reticent about the bother and expense of altering their wardrobe, but they give tacit approval to the change by rushing to the department stores where they jostle each other to buy copies of the more expensive dresses. The conclusion one might reach after observing how women countenance the arbitrary dictator-like changes year after year is that they are naive or victims of some chicanery practiced by the clothing industry. Women may appear hapless before the intimidation of style, but the real truth may lie in the fact that they are so docile because they secretly enjoy the yearly excitement around the latest fashions. Week 38 Day 5. TV The Octopus. Is there anyone you know who can remember a time when there was no television? Perhaps a grandparent, but no one much younger is able to do so. At the beginning, only a handful of stations existed. Early programs imitated each other and tended to be homogeneous. Sometime later, there was the cable TV expansion and greater variety was available. The developing trend was for ever larger numbers of programs dealing with information as well as entertainment. The TV industry, never reticent when it comes to expanding viewer interests, brought even more channels to the air, broadcasting 24 hours every day of the week. The objective was to tantalize special groups with programs directed to special tastes and interests. Soon channels devoted to games, to how to fix or make things, to romance dramas, to cartoons, etc., sprang into existence. It appears that every facet of a viewer's interest is being addressed. As more and more channels come on the air, as the result of new technology, the variety is expanding beyond anything imagined by those who can recall the beginnings of this magical medium.